This is experiment number 1 for future applications for remote viewing. I am conducting this experiment at Deep Run Park in Richmond, Virginia. I am just behind the gazebo and amphitheater. So that is my location. The time is Monday, the 21st of May, 2018. It is 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have just completed approximately 20 minutes of meditation and breathing exercises. This is a beautiful place, so it's easy to calm oneself here. So today's experiment is to connect with the people who are attempting to join me in this experiment. It is also to see if I detect anything. Do I detect that I am being remotely viewed? Do they perceive me at all in this place? I made a note to myself that maybe I would go ahead and wave to the camera. I would wave to them if they were perceiving me from anywhere around, if they are perceiving me from above. There's a tree directly above me, so they'd have to perceive me from very close by. But if they want to choose the best view, that would be from any of these places. So I'm going to wave at them from all around. And invite them to come over to me if they are not already around me. I will say right now, if I am being remotely viewed right now, I'm not detecting it. I don't feel anything. I don't I'm not sensing anything from them. I'm just focusing on my own peace right now and staying open to the experiment. There is one piece of this experiment that I intend to record right now as a potential for communication. We'll see if this works at all. During my meditation, I've been sure to not focus on any numbers because this is a numerical experiment. The purpose of this experiment is to see, can someone communicate with me while they are remotely viewing me? So, the purpose of my meditation was to open myself up to the possibilities of this moment. So I'm going to record the results here in my little notepad. I've made a few notes of my meditation and my mantra and all that stuff right here. So I'm going to write the numbers on the same sheet of paper. So what I'm going to ask, and this is not going to start just yet, I'm going to take 3 breaths before the numbers start presenting themselves to me. I'm going to ask that anyone who is remotely viewing me when this moment starts, and I will state again the time, I will ask that they present me with a number, 1 through 100. After they've presented me with that number, 1 through 100, I will record it on this sheet of paper, and I will record it the same way I would record an ideogram. So I will allow my subconscious to write the numbers down. I will write down 5 different numbers that come to me, and I will stop after I've written the 5th number, and that will conclude the experiment. The time is now 1:36. Going to take 3 deep breaths and ask the remote viewers to send me numbers. I will write down up to 5 of those numbers. Numbers 1 through 100. Starting now. Alright, I wrote down more than 5 numbers. Wow, okay. These are the numbers I have just recorded. They seem to come to me very quickly. Now, I will admit, I don't always have the greatest deal of confidence. And it is entirely possible that all those numbers just came out of my imagination. All right, that concludes my experiment. And I will go home, write the target, and then upload some rules to the group, and we'll see what happens. Good luck to everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 30th of May, 2018, and I would like to share with you the purpose of experiment number 1. Now, this was not an experiment on if remote viewing works. The assumption was made prior to this study that remote viewing is real. So this experiment is to test how a group of different unrelated viewers would perceive the same target that was both written and videotaped under completely blind conditions, and also to study how deeply they would connect with this said target. So here's how I'm evaluating these results. Level 1 was to describe the target location within reason, which was a very basic and easy remote viewing kind of thing to do, and multiple people accomplished this level, which was just the setting. It was not the actual target itself. It was just the setting in which the target was placed. Now, evaluation level 2. Now that was to describe and sketch the subject or subject's actions within reason. Now this took a higher level of remote viewing focus, and this is the level at which I'm awarding the $50. So 2 viewers achieved level 2. Now level 3 and 4 were complete unknowns, as you could see from the video. Level 3 derived meaning from the subject's spoken words or thought processes. Now, I call this an experimental level because I did not expect to get any real results from this, especially under the blind conditions. That's asking a lot from the remote viewers to try and get that level of detail from just a written target. So I just wanted to do a quick experiment and see what kind of results we would get. And it turned out that the numerical results I received were in my imagination. But this is something that I might want to study further in the future. I imagined that participants were feeding me numbers randomly. The other place where imagination played a part was on the part of several of the participants. While certain participants were able to get kind of close, describing a natural setting that could be a park, they did get kind of close to that level 1 reading, but their imagination might have caused them to veer off course a bit with the details, and that caused them to possibly miss the main subject of the target altogether. So that was the big separation between level 1 and level 2. Now here's the fun part. I'm going to share the results with you now of the 2 viewers who seem to connect the closest with the subject and target. Like I said earlier, almost everyone who participated in this study did a good job of describing a park-like setting. Some people didn't get quite as close to saying it was a park, but I could still give them credit for saying that it was a natural environment. Now, what set these 2 viewers apart is the level of detail they gave me to work with to really describe the things I was looking for. This first viewer did a good job of describing the natural environment and saying that there were tiny beings like children, innocent and sincere and loving, walking along with older beings that were likely their parents, along with 4-legged beings that could be their dogs. I will admit that while I was walking to my position where I would record the video, I did pass people, families, walking their dogs, having a good time with each other. There was a small body of water, which multiple viewers did pick up on. There was a small lake on the site, and there were ball games happening. Multiple viewers also described that people were playing and that this was a fun environment, and I think that's what led most people to saying that it was a park. They knew there were a lot of trees, there were families, and it was a park situation. So several of you were right on with that. Now, I'm not going to read through all of the details that were provided by this first person because that's just tedious. If you really want to, you can pause the video and take a look at it closer yourself. But I will say that there was one detail in particular provided on this final page that I'm showing here that really stood out for me, and that is the detail that they also included in the sketch on the page above. They said in their words, some movement waving with hands, which I have to attribute possibly to them remote viewing me waving my hands at the beginning of the video, inviting the remote viewers to join me. So this remote viewer stood out for me specifically because not only did they explore the park and describe accurately what I saw on my walk to my video location, but they also seem to have described my actions while recording myself on video. Now, the second person I'm going to talk about went into surprising detail and extremely accurate with those details. Her descriptions of me, it seems, she has a category here of biological, where she describes dark brown, where she could be describing my skin, expressive, emotive, bulging eyes, which maybe I have. I don't know that I really think of myself that way. Inquisitive. She said that I was screaming. I didn't think I was screaming, but you never really hear yourself. She then went on to describe curly hairs, a friendly smile, which take as a compliment, cheerful, happy, light, black, and those were a number of the words she chose to describe biological subject. Now, there are several pictures she drew that describe very specific features of this park. One of them she labeled as a stadium area, a sport-like area, and not far from my position, probably less than a 3-minute walk, was a large area where you could play football, soccer, a little bit of everything. Volleyball nets were set up, and she seems to have very clearly drawn a volleyball net there. So she describes both me and the park very well, and that is only the beginning of the detail that surprised me here. She goes on to describe another part where she writes the words light or antenna related to broadcasting. She might have been picking up on the video camera I had set up on the tripod right in front of me. And then additional details on the same page that really took me by surprise. She says, move to best full view of the target. This seems to be an overhead view. Now, if you look behind me in the video of me, you'll see that I'm standing at the edge of a curved or angled bridge. She described the bridge perfectly. And when she moved 100 feet above the target, she went on to describe pillars, or a line of pillars that were very close to the bridge. And that very accurately depicts and describes the wedding area, where a lot of people usually rent out this location for their wedding ceremonies, sometimes graduation ceremonies, or parties in general. And with yet another really good detail, she moves 20 feet in front of the target and describes a building, or what she calls like a house. This would very well describe the pavilion that was also right near the wedding area and bridge area. So I was standing a good little distance away from that area, but I was on the opposite side of the bridge, away from these gathering areas. And now I'm going to share with you her session summary, which was also extremely accurate. This is the end of her results, and in her words, she says, seems like a crowded place with a big structure like bridge over water. Now, where I was at the end of the bridge that she described on a deck, a wooden deck that was protruding out over the water, and it was approximately 20 feet by 20 feet. And she drew that very well here in this grid-like structure that you see in the top image. Now in the lower image, we have yet another really good sketch of the situation. She says, smiling man in conversation. Now I'm going to take that smiling man to be myself. I was speaking to the camera in a very conversational way, And if you look at the center of the table, it appears that there is a small rectangular device, which could very easily represent my video camera. So the only details that were slightly off in this lower image is that I'm sitting where in reality I was standing, and two, the table. There was no table in front of me. The camera was on a tripod, but I see how very tiny details like that could be lost. Replace that table with a tripod, make me a standing up subject, and this was an absolute dead-on remote viewing. So it was amazing to look at these results. It was amazing to look at everyone's results. Thank you all so much for participating. As you can see, going into a great amount of detail really helps with the evaluation process later. Now, a lot of you turned in great results, but I really had to point out these particular two remote viewers because their results were the most accurate and the closest to convincing me that they were completely on target. Thank you all for participating, and I'll be posting another target here very soon.